me. Well, I put in and Pop says, well, now, says, I think he called me Albert Albert, says, I want you to hit my brother on one side, and Lubo, you hit him on the other side. He says, he'll paw you and so on, see, but you hit him, see. He can't do anything to both of you. And Lubo was a hard driver, see. And I learned the charges as fast as he did. And there was a 260-pound man, you know. We made a lot of gains through him, you know, because he was hitting him so fast, you know, that, and the long shot is, we beat Cornell University, and that really put us on top of the map, see. That was first big thing. And let me see. Well, anyway, after that, I had played. I was considered a regular. I did make it. And another so the graduate of Harvard University. He had decided that football was getting so rough. So many people are getting broken legs, broken arms, and neck or something, see, that he threatened to abolish football if it wasn't corrected, see, for so many injuries. So therefore, it is in 1605, the next year, see, that a new rule putting in the forward pass came into being. But of course, in the meantime, Pop had gone to Stanford, gone back to Cornell, see. That a new rule putting in the forward pass came into being. But of course, in the meantime, Pop had gone to Stanford, gone back to Cornell, see. And so when that new rule came out, well, Pop happened to be there and knew we were going to start practice earlier. He was on the scene. So, and new forward pass rule came out. We didn't know how in the world to throw it. See. Some of us take this ball, drive on the side, you know, and throw it this way, that way, and trying to throw it, you know, and grab it that way and trying to throw it. So Pop was there, says, well, says, I think, boys, that you will have to learn to spar the ball. And Pop is the one that learned this to spar the ball. And we have a quarterback there, Frank Mount Pleasant. Boy, he was like that. He learned to spar that ball right now, see. And I had pictures of Thorpe. He was a remarkable punter. He weighed about only 148 pounds, I think it was. But boy, he was strong, fast, and he was smart. He's quarterback, see. So he learned to spar that ball. So we were doing pretty well with the forward pass. So it happened, I was football captain, see. In 1906, after playing our last game, the Army-Navy game came on. And the Navy invited the Carlisle Indians as guests to that football game, see? And so going to, and they furnished each one of us a bench to sit in right on the sideline see the bleachers are there, and they look like cracker box in comparison to what they are now, see. And anyway, we were sitting there during the progress, or right at the close of the first half, I felt somebody hit me on the shoulder. And I looked back, and by joy, his old Pop Warner. Wasn't I glad to see him? I got up and greeted him and so on. He says, "How are you, Captain?" I said, "Fine, Coach." And we were visiting there. I think the game was played on Saturday. For some reason or other, he had just played. Cornell had just played the University of Pennsylvania. And Cornell University had a habit of losing to the University of Pennsylvania. You know, they were just as good. So I told Papa, I said, sorry she lost that pen game. Well, he said they were too good for us. So I was kidding him along and on. I says, "Pop, why don't you go coach the Carlisle Indians where you never lose football games?" He says, "Well, you've got coaches there." He says, "No, we don't have coaches. We had 3 Indians coaching there. Beamer Pierce, Holly Pierce, and Ed Rogers. They were wonderful players, but they were not coaches." I said, "No," he says, "they're not good coaches." And not listening. He says, "How do you like the new superintendent?" I says, "Wonderful." His name was Mercer. Boy, says he likes athletics, and he's really a good sport. You would like me, I wish you'd meet him. I says, "I'd like to meet him." Well, he says, "I want you to meet him." So, says, "I know about where he's sitting." He and Linda was head of the Linda Shoe Factory at Carlisle. He had about 500 employees there making shoes. Boy, he had plenty of that cost money. And when I was to see me, I told Marcia, superintendent, says, "I'd like to speak to you privately," says Marcia. And Linda grabbed me, and says, "No, you don't talk privately. Come down here, put me right between them." See? So I told him, says, "Major," says, "I'm through with football, but I sure would like to see Carlisle continue to have winning football games." "Well, we do too. Do everything we can for it." Well, says, "I know how you can continue winning football. How's that?" I says, "Get to Pop Warner back there." He says, "Well, shoe man." And after the game was over, this is the game started, he's patting me on the shoulder again. He says, "X, shake hands next year's football coach." Yeah. He had been hard. And of course, first thing he did, he says, "X, I want you to play another year." How many came to Carlisle afterward? "I want you to play another year." I says, "Can't do it, Papa. I've already played 5 years, my land." He says, "Well," he says, "nothing. Harvard, Person, Cornell, Army, Navy, those fellas 5 and 10 years." He says, "They're on there, so they never quit." But he says that, and anyway, he says, "Tell you what I do. If you come back to Carlisle and play on the Carlisle team, I'll make you my assistant coach next year." So that's what I did. I went by Carlisle, played in 1907. Of course, I was coaching Jim Thorpe all that time, 1906 and 7, say. And so anyway, from 7, I guess 7, assistant. Then year 8 I began the assistant. I graduated Carlisle in 6. So I went to the Dixon College Preparatory School, see, in 1907 and 8. And after I coached Carlisle in 8, well, I got a job coaching University of, no, I played there 1 year, next year too, see, that I was going to school there. And then after 2 years there, that qualified me to study law. Now there's a long story to my studying law, see. It's too long to relate to you, but it's damn interesting one, see. And anyway, while I was coaching University of Audubon, after the football season's over, I jumped on the train, went back to Carlisle, and went to studying law for 3 years. And I finally graduated Carlisle, and of course took the state bar examination at Oklahoma City. We had 3 of us, Carlisle fellows. You met, Marinelli. Boy, he was a smart fellow. This is what happened, see. I was behind. Marinelli was a smart kid, Italian. So I made agreement with him. I said, Murray, he was having a hard time getting through and having worked extra hours. I said, Marinelli says, I'm way behind on my studies. I have to catch up and take examination for Dean Trickett. And boy, he was strict. He says, tell me what I'll do. I'll get us, if you want to, he says, I'll get us a nice room in the YMCA building. We'll room together. And you have me and study. Oh, you got it right now. So that's what we had. We had the best rooms in Carlisle. And in YMCA. And of course we graduated. When they graduated, they intended to take state bar examination in Pennsylvania. But they couldn't take it, and they decided to come to Carlisle. So he and a fellow named Prudhomme came down there and took the examination. We all 3 passed. Marinelli came back, and I practiced law with Marinelli, and I said to Prudhomme, over to Watonga. I told him the story. He told me about when he come there. He says, I tell you, I think it'd be pretty good bet. This little town up there named Watonga. He says the land scandal is so great out there, dealing with lands, Indians treating them out of it, that they got in trouble. And by the way, they disbarred 3 or 4 fellows there. And there were no lawyers up there. I told him, I think no lawyers up there. And says, I think it might be a good place to locate. So they got in touch with their uncle or somebody. He said, Dr. Dine, is this exactly right? He said, boy, that's a place for you. And that's where they went. And of course, that's one thing I was talking, see. Then, something else I could relate, but turn that thing on and I'll tell you about it.
Go ahead.
Is it off?
Go ahead, it doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Turn it off, I'll tell you about it.
He doesn't want me to.
Eh?
Yeah, and then after that,
Turn it off.
we'll talk.
I deserve a lot of credit. A lot of credit for getting old Pop Warner back to Carlisle, see. And of course people don't appreciate it. I deserve a whole lot of credit for coaching old Jim Thorpe, because he didn't know football, but I taught him how to tackle, how to block, how to be rough, how to knee, how not to knee, and so on. And, but Old Thorpe was tough. One thing I liked we used to do, after every practice, Pop would have him count 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. He says, all right, 1, get over north goal line. 2 down here. All right. 1, try to run through 2, see, 3 trials. So that's when Old Thorpe would get over there and do his brother. And he'd knock everybody down down there, see, trying to he'd run through them. So I'd watch Old Thorpe, and he watched me. So wherever he went, I'd go there, and if I didn't tackle him, he generally ran through the whole bunch. But boy, I did tackle him. And we really had a good time. Then the other side would change out, the original one that would do the tackling, the other try to run through it, see. But anyway, Thorpe became a wonderful ball carrier right now, see. He's fast. Anyway, Thorpe became a wonderful ball carrier right now, see. He's fast. But the ball never stayed with him. He didn't run, you know, and he'd forget by the time he had the ball, see.
He'd fumble a whole lot, and that's one thing that Pop never did. He wouldn't play.
He would fumble, but the only place he could have played was the position where one of our Oklahoma boys playing. His name was Fritz Hendricks. He's a cattle boy. Boy, he was a wonder. And I was a smashing type of player, see. Bill Gardner was Whitey. He played 10 or 15 yards away from his tackle. I played 2 and 3 yards away from him. And boy, anything came over there, I went through it. I busted somebody, see, going through it. And with all this Lubo line, so I said, now send this line the other way, not let them come over here. And boy, when they started to come over here, I'd go in there and bust the interference. If they came on the inside, Lubo held up, and he'd tackle him on the inside. But mostly they tried to go round, see, because of us. If they went round, Fritz finished with it. There's a wonderful tackler. Boy, we sure stopped him on our side of the line. But what you got on your mind?
I think actually Thorpe was the greatest athlete you ever saw.
Eh?
You think that Jim Thorpe was the greatest athlete
Yeah,
you ever
all right. Now then, as far as Jim is concerned, there was no question in my mind, see, that now Jim Thorpe at Carlisle, some years had the best teams in the country, see. But in those days, football was 1 hour. Anyway, they had 35-minute halves. They didn't have any quarters. Rest between halves, there wasn't any of that, see. And when the fellow played football, he played all the way through. He didn't play half a game, see. Carry the ball for half a game. Then go out there and play defensive ball half a game. That was a half and half, see. We played all the way through, every minute of every game. And they were 35 minutes long. And if anybody went out of the game, well, he was gone for good, see. So we often played Harvard, Yale. One thing in particular said Jim Thorpe went up to Carlisle in 1911 to 12. Well, he made 19 points. I think it's 19 points. Against Harvard, defeated 19 points. And he made every point that is made, see, by kicking field goals, I think a touchdown. And several things happened like that. And following Saturday, went over and played the Naval Academy. They were very sorry. And they say that they kicked the ball to him for about close to the 10-yard line. He ran through him for a touchdown. Well, they called it back because somebody was clipping him and called it back, see. He got mad and took the ball again. That time he ran, he passed him the ball, he was back to the goal line. Passed him the ball and he ran there and made about 110 yards for a touchdown. But he was just that kind of a fella. Now, Thorpe, Papa ought to excuse him, and it's true. Sometimes he played a rotten game. But it was against a team which we knew we could lick. It was already licked, see. But when it comes down to a team when they're going to get licked, boy, that's when Jim Thorpe showed up. So anyway, Jim Thorpe was that good when I played with the last. Now the last time I saw Jim Thorpe was in after I left Carlisle. I had graduated law school, practicing law down in Darko, and I went down the street. Who'd I run into but Jim Thorpe? Well, I said, well, hello, Jim. Well, glad to see me, glad to see me. And I says, what are you doing? He says, nothing. What have you been doing? He said, playing baseball. So he was playing baseball. I says, did you graduate Carlisle? He says, no. Why in the heck don't you go back trying to graduate? Boy, he was Vicky Martin. Thorpe, when he started, when the first came there, he must have weighed about 170, 75 pounds. But when he was in afterward, back then. So I sent a telegram to Pop Warner that Jim Thorpe was there, and it looked, says, that big as a mountain. Says, boy, says, I'd like to see him back at Carlisle. So he sent a telegram and word to me to go and see the agent there and have him come to Carlisle. So Pop Warner and the Indian agent got together, and first thing I knew, I read about Jim Thorpe being back to Carlisle, see. Now, Jim Thorpe, of course, he was a good athlete, all-around athlete, everything. But you take the Olympics fellas of today, you know that. They practice Olympics years around, for several years. But Jim Thorpe was out there playing baseball. He didn't practice. He didn't try at all for the Olympics. But Pop Warner got him up there. He thought, God, so he should make the Olympics. So he gave him a trial in all those events up there. And he just picked it up with Thorpe. Thorpe was really a track coach. But then, anyway, he picked it up. And without any previous training, see, except in a year or two there, he went over there, and my gosh, he set the world on fire, you know, as an Olympic man. Mm-hmm. He was sweet, went out there and greeted him. He says, you are the greatest athlete in the world. Thorpe says, thank you, King. But as I said, that this decathlon meet, you know, that's a meet of guts. It's not that if you were a champion of 100 yards, you know, that didn't mean anything. You had to be a good pole vaulter too. Now Thorpe never pole vaulted in his life that I know of. I tried it one time and I broke the stick. And I didn't try it anymore. But Jim Thorpe was big enough to see that you break that down stick, or sit don't use sticks now that you got the others. But he did pretty fair on the pole vault, although he never vaulted before. But Thorpe, long before it was running, I don't care what it is. He looked kind of clumsy, but when he got on this track, boy, he sure could run. And I would say, talk about the time we had a track meet against the Navy. We had track meet against the Navy, and I was good. Pop would have some pretty good athletes there. But Pop wanted to win a meet. He always called on old X. I'd let you go in there and say so-and-so. So we played an Army and Navy game up there, track meet with them. And I was just short about some fellow came down here. Anyway, the meet's awful close. So I was entered, see, but Pop didn't intend it. He entered me in 6 or 8 events, you know, see. But sometimes he'd lose me on one or two of them, see, because we were ahead. And things, for instance, shot push and hammer throwers, high jump, broad jump, hurdles. But we were, one of the last events up there was high hurdles, I think, high hurdles, low hurdles. And the Pop says, how much does that get in there? My guy says, we have to take first and second here. So these fellas are going to lick us. So put Jim Thorpe and I got together, and he told Jim was better than I was. I admitted that, but Pop knew it. I just keep right on this right close to him. So we got down the hurdles. And fortunately, I got a good start, see. That gun shot, I was right on my way. Jim right behind me, see. Papa told him to push me, see. Every time we jump, Thorpe says, X. And I do it. Keep it running, see. There's so many steps you could take from this hurdle there. If you change it, you're lost, you're licked. There's so many steps. And when we took the last hurdle, I was ahead of Jim. I knew I was ahead of him, but he said, X. I thought he said, X. Hell, I've got you licked, Jim. And you know, that son of a gun jumped ahead of me. I mean, going over those hurdles. He jumped ahead of me and right out beat me out. And on top of that, see, it is so close, you know, see. Jim had to do that, see. We came out, the Navy man, Thorpe and I, came out right together, see. And 2 of the officials appointed me for second place, and the other fellow took the other man for second place. Jim Thorpe was first. I and the other fellow were second, but I got 2 both there if I won, so we got first and second. Now that's a story.
This has been an interview with Albert Exendine, E-X-E-N-D-I-N-E, of Tulsa, Oklahoma, conducted in the First National Bank of Yale on September the 30th, 1972. Your interviewer has been Robert A. Bish, curator of the Jim Thorpe Home in Yale, Oklahoma.
Jim Thorpe was all the subject of conversations here. And they've all admitted at the regular call meeting, they voted Jim Thorpe as being the best athlete that played football.